All right, back to it now as we dive back into it with the Speaker of the Michigan House, Matt Hall, who has done, I think, tremendous work since he's been there. Matt, welcome back to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve.
I do respect the work you've gotten done, but there's more work to be done every day. Thankfully, we didn't shut the government down in Michigan. That's good news. You signed the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, celebrating, I should say. What is the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan? Why is it important? Why are you pushing it forward?
Well, when I got to the legislature, the COVID-19 pandemic started shortly after, and we have so much money in state government. Tens of billions, more money than they've ever had before. And what happened is this big rush led by Governor Whitmer and the Democrats to just spend it out the door. I mean, billions and billions of dollars. They spent our entire state surplus on this. It was $9 billion. And there was, we'd get these votes and we wouldn't know what we were voting on. They would just shove these pork spending projects in there in the middle of the night right before the vote. And then we started, after the bill passed, we started looking and learning what these things were. And they would go to for-profit companies. There would be organizations that did not exist even that got the money, and they'd create the organization after they got the money. And there'd be a lot of wasteful purposes like splash pads and a hip hop academy and Zen Center and all kinds of stuff, baseball stadiums.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. You just said organizations that did not exist. Did not exist. Money goes out, then they create the organization. How is that not criminal? How is that not illegal?
Yeah, exactly. So, it would just go out the door, and there are some criminal investigations going on, on some of these pork spending projects. So, when I came in, I just said we're not doing any more pork spending unless we disclose it, and that's what the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan is, because there is some, like with a weaponized government led by Democrats, I can understand that they might punish a Republican district. They may say, we're not fixing your road because you have a Republican elected official. We're not going to, help your local hospital for this reason. So I see a benefit to a legislator being able to go around the Whitmer administration and force something important for their district. But we've gotten way far away from that. Instead, I listed off how out of control this has been. So what we said is, look, you must disclose the public purpose. You must be proud enough to put your name on this, and you have to disclose it 45 days before any vote, so that everyone has an opportunity to look into this and understand what it is. And we held up all pork spending in the budget and forced the Democrats to agree to make this permanent law. And they wanted the pork so bad, after weeks and weeks and weeks of delay, they agreed at the last minute, and the governor signed that this week.
So that's good news, right?
Yeah, it's great news. We're finally going to be able to have transparency on this pork spending. Now, in this budget we just passed, by the way, we cut the pork spending 87%. So we're reining it in. And now they're going to be forced to disclose what all of it is. So, and we're banning for-profit corporations from getting it. And we're also, we're not paying them up front anymore. What Whitmer would do, here's your $20 million, and they'd start wasting it. And we'd find out, and there was nothing we could do to stop it once they got the money. Now they have to submit the expenditure and get approval from the government before they go out and make these expenditures. So,
in fairness, man, I sit here as a taxpayer and I think to myself, if you've got an idea, if it's a splash pad or a hip hop show, whatever it is, if you're proud of it and you think it's a good idea and a good investment in the community, a good use of taxpayer dollars, why would you hide it in the first place? If it's a good idea, just, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Put it out there. Why would you hide it in the first place?
Right. And what you were seeing are things like hundreds of millions of dollar projects for Stephen Ross, who's a large mega donor, you would see these kind of items come through, and then no one admit that they put it in the budget. Um, you know what I mean? And these be
Yeah, it
hundreds
applies
of
to both
dollars.
sides. Look, it applies to both sides. Hey, don't sneak stuff through. If you think it's a good idea, you want to spend money. I mean, look, show us your cards. That's not so much to ask for the taxpayers. We're out here working our tails off. We're spending 4.25% on income tax in Michigan. Tell us how you're using the money. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and what they would do is they'd use, because they'd slip these things in with public safety spending, healthcare spending, education spending, and they tack these things on. And so if you voted no, you'd be voting to defund police and schools and, your roads. And so, that's how they get you. And so now forcing them to disclose it. The craziest thing is when you're in the end and you're negotiating this, because I sat in a room with the Democrats to negotiate this, I'd ask them, I'd say, okay, I will put your project in the budget if you can give me a sentence explanation of what it is. And they'd say, Winnie Brinks would say, I'll have to get back to you.
Yeah.
That's not how we should budget.
No, it's not how you should. You have to sign the bill to see what's in the bill. I mean, that's all I hear. I hear Nancy Pelosi's words in my head. You have to sign it to see what's in it. That's not the way to run a railroad. Matt Hall, again, I appreciate the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan. I like it, and I'm glad it got done. Sir, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve.
There you have it, Speaker Matt Hall. And that's why I like him. This is just common sense, folks. It's the working man and working woman's money. Tell us how you're spending it. It's not that big a deal. If you're doing it on something smart, great. If you're just trying to build a hip-hop joint or a splash pad, maybe that should be a local issue. Just putting it out there. I'll take a break with some final thoughts. I'll have those after the break.